need people who will make you feel confident and like help you to overcome your imposter syndrome as much as possible.
What first drew you to acting?
I had this incredible teacher called Mike Friend who, around 17, directed me my first play, James and the Giant Peach it was, and I played the worm. And he kind of, from that one play, saw some potential, and he said, look, I've got some drama college applications and I think you should go for it. And yeah, I kind of followed his advice and then went to drama college and then really discovered that it was something I wanted to do.
I love that. It's always nice to have a teacher that is like supportive of.
Yeah, it's really strange to think if our paths hadn't crossed, I don't think I would be doing it. And I'm very grateful to him. And he was a very strict teacher, and I think everyone was kind of scared of him, but he was one of those teachers who, even outside of the arts, would just talk you about if you're passionate about something, you've got to give it 100%. And you know, I kind of remember a lot of things he taught me even now.
And obviously you began your career in theatre, like you worked at National Theatre, Royal Shakespeare Company, some amazing theatre troupes. So how would you describe your first experience on stage?
I think that was in a play called A Servant to Two Masters at the RSC, and it was just thrilling. I'd done 3 years at drama college and you're kind of preparing for this point, and then you throw yourself into the deep end. But I remember Jason Watkins was playing the lead, and we had Claire Cox was playing it's a farce, a Goldoni farce, and this girl dresses up as a boy and all kind of, you know, mayhem ensues, and the audience was just laughing, and I kind of thought there wasn't anything better really than that. Also discovering what it's like to be in an ensemble of actors, a cast of actors, and that you're really in a vulnerable space together, and that you really have these weeks of rehearsal where you bond and you create something, and you know, you are brave and you delight audiences, hopefully. But I had my first couple of years out of drama college with the Royal Shakespeare Company, so it was great for me. It felt like continuing to study, continuing to train. You know, they put a lot of emphasis into making sure you've got lots of experts in voice and movement around you to keep making sure you know how to kind of use your body and your voice properly.
Is there any like role or project that you've had that really stood out to you?
Gosh, one role.
Well, you can take more than one. You're allowed to take more than one.
I guess the first thing that came to mind when you said that was NW, which was a Zadie Smith adaptation, and something that was really close to my heart. I love her writing. It was an extraordinary part. It was like a great leading role for me. And also, I lived in NW at the time, and so we were filming around the streets in my home, and having the community, it was quite ad hoc filming, and like we'd go to Kilburn Market and stuff, and so some of the people who were just around would be involved in the filming, and it felt like a very rare moment that kind of your life and your work merge really beautifully. I also really loved that role because I hadn't read many parts for women of colour and dark-skinned women that were so honest about the cost of success, and this woman who was really ambitious and had kind of achieved everything that she'd wanted to, and it had left this breaking through the glass ceiling had kind of left her a little bit damaged, and so it was challenging but in a really rewarding way. And I was working with a director called Saul Dibb. It's the second time I worked with him, and for some reason, I don't know what it is about Saul, I think it's because he's worked in documentaries, I just feel I respond so well with him, and he's one of those people who can just bring out the best in me, so it was a really exciting project.
You got your first BAFTA nomination for that, right?
I did. Yeah. I like the way you say first, as if it's the first of many.
Yes. Yeah.
I did, yeah. It was incredible. It's like such a nice feeling of validation that people like the work as much as I did.
You kind of lead this wonderful drama, and it almost feels like the UK's answer to Knives Out in a way.
Oh, I love that. That's such a compliment.
And that's exactly what I thought when I watched that first episode. I was like, Knives Out, that's what I'm getting.
It's got a little Agatha Christie, a little Succession. It's like a lot of different mashups there.
Yeah, and it's really great. But so what was it about the show that made you want to be a part of it?
It was a cracking story. I was sent all 6 episodes and asked to look at the part of Sally, and I remember reading the first scene. It says she's in prison at the lowest point in her life, and then the second scene you see her, go back in past, and she is this high flyer walking into an apartment in Paris, and you think, how did she get from here to here? And then I read all 6 scripts the same night. I couldn't put it down, and I thought, if we can capture how compelling it is just even reading this on screen, then we'll have something really exciting. Chris Lang is an incredible storyteller, not just because he's good at mystery, so he knows how to tell a good whodunit, but because he really understands character psychology and how painful, dysfunctional family dynamics can be. So he can keep you guessing on each character's motivation, their trauma. It was just fantastically well written. And, again, I hadn't seen the part said it was written specifically for a woman of Nigerian origin, and I hadn't seen a part like that, that was so complex psychologically, emotionally, financially. This is a very wealthy woman who had come from nothing and then built her way up to have the life of people's dreams, and then was about to lose it all over again. But I loved that he seemed to understand her story without making it a kind of racial or political aspect. He just sort of understood her as a woman, and that her culture was interwoven into that so naturally. I thought it was really sophisticated storytelling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talking about seeing her at lowest point and highest point in 2 scenes, I really love that the show has this documentary feel. Like, we obviously have all of the characters telling the story to camera, and then we see it play out. I've wondered, what did you like best about that kind of storytelling? It feels very different to other crime dramas out there.
I thought it was so smart that he started with that true crime doc feeling, because I don't know about you, but I love true crime. I think he's acknowledging as a script, as a storyteller, that we are now in an age where people are drawn to different types of storytelling, and like true crime now has become so compelling, and seeing what people are really capable of. So he was just so smart to use that to kind of draw people in and remind them how satisfying drama can be as well.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said, you lead a wonderful cast. You've obviously got like John Sim, Harry Lloyd, Zoe Tappan. There's so many amazing people in this. But
Trevor Eve, he's in there, short but sweet moment.
Short but sweet, but he's there. What was it like to work with this cast? What did you kind of learn through the process of acting with such a great ensemble?
It's really exciting when you have an ensemble like that. I mean, even just starting with John Sim, who is kind of a legend at this point. He's a national treasure, isn't he? And he's so good. He's one of those, he's like disarmingly good, because he's so relaxed and natural, really sweet guy, works so hard. And and you can say that about all the cast members, but from the moment we had the read through, we kind of had this kind of crackle in the room where everybody just sort of kind of brought their A game. I know that sounds really cheesy, but everyone was like, because at read through sometimes people can be a bit like, play it cool, they don't want to try too hard, but everybody was really just going for it, and we discovered that the script was a lot sort of funnier than we even thought it was at first. And it just meant that, I think because Chris had written such good parts for everybody had this responsibility, so we were all really supportive of each other. It felt like handing over the baton every time we'd see each other on set, be like, oh, have you got that scene coming up? Good luck, I hope it goes well. And how did it go? And there was just a really good vibe, a real camaraderie. So it was really nice to be a part of that, and to feel in some ways like to be put in a position where I could lead that and feel that I could bring my energy and my passion, and that it was being mirrored everywhere around me, and it was just really exciting.
What were the movies that you loved growing up?
I grew up not really watching kids' films. I grew up watching like very adult films, not adult films, but very grown-up films. And so like my favourite film growing up was a film called The Boyfriend with Twiggy, which I've now watched back and I'm like, why is a child watching this? This is so surreal. But I loved E.T. I had a huge crush on Elliot. Henry Thomas. I loved River Phoenix growing up, so Stand By Me was another favourite. But mostly anything with music, dancing, singing, you know, I loved all of the classics.
What TV shows were you obsessed with growing up?
I used to love this show called Mini Pops, which no one seems to remember existed. And it was like Top of the Pops, but it had kids playing the stars, so they were singing and dancing and, you know, playing guitar, and I think I was obsessed with anything that had kids being adults. So I loved like Bugsy Malone, the movie, things like that.
If you could choose one song to define your life, what would it be and why?
First song that's come into my head is Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World. I mean, that kind of sums it up, really. If you on the good days, right, when you can take everything in, then you just feel you feel a lot of gratitude, and that's always the aim, is to like be able to put things in perspective so you can be grateful for what you have.
Were there any mentors in your life or career that you feel like had a defining influence on you and your career path?
I definitely feel that Mike Friend, my theatre studies teacher at Hertwood House School, had a real impact on me, and I'm so grateful for that whole time and being able to discover something I didn't even know that I had. And I'm so grateful that I met Armando Iannucci at a significant point in my career, and he, you know, encouraged me to try comedy as well, and I feel like he's been a mentor to me in some ways, and just has a real way of developing talent and the people around him and encouraging them. So it's been really exciting, and yeah, those are two people who came to mind straight away. But yeah, I've been lucky to work with lots. Oh, and Anthony Minghella was an incredible person to work with, and I got to work with him on a. I mean, everyone's incredible, but in terms of I remember him just really sort of seeing who I was as a person, and me being quite nervous to work with him, and really encouraging me to be more confident in myself. And I think it's that you need people who will make you feel confident and like help you to overcome your imposter syndrome as much as possible.
If you could go back in time and give young Nikki any advice on how to change her origin story, what would it be and why?
You kind of don't want to have any regrets, right? But I would say to trust my instincts a bit more. I think, you know, especially when you're young, you want to please everybody around you, and you learn a bit later on as an actor that your instincts are right. You know, I think you can feel as a performer when something feels authentic and real and lived in, and so I would encourage myself to trust that feeling more, because I think I came out of drama college, and I think I was very eager to please a lot of people, and maybe lost sight of all of the things that I'd learnt, and maybe tried to. I remember particularly at the Royal Shakespeare Company trying to be a good Shakespearean. And that's really hard to do. It's more so better to try and be as truthful and honest and try to be yourself, yeah.